Shana Tova, friends. I'd like to tell you the story of having 9 good fingers and one finger, this one, in agonizing pain. We were back in San Francisco. Tikva was born in June. And I have this one particular photo from the hospital of me holding her tiny hand, and you can see this one finger completely black and blue. 9 good fingers, one finger mangled by the car door of my 97 Corolla. I'd been closing it after buckling Dahlia into her car seat in a Trader Joe's parking lot. 9 good fingers, one finger, complete mess. We'd been living in Jerusalem when we got the news. Gal was pregnant with Tikva. At the ultrasound, we found out about her condition. I left rabbinical school. We moved back to San Francisco and UCSF Hospital. We didn't know what would happen with our baby after she was born. Had to rebuild my personal training practice from scratch to support us. We depended on Medicaid for care. We needed women, infant, and children checks to fill in the gaps to feed ourselves. We relied on the kindness of our synagogue to afford preschool for Dahlia, and we're grateful for the generosity of family, friends, and even strangers for a whole lot more. Those were some of the hardest times. To help with the anxiety and the uncertainty, I used to take long walks in Golden Gate Park, through the fog and the eucalyptus trees out to Ocean Beach. In need, I stood in the sand one morning and felt the wind on my face and the fear in my heart. I turned my palms over, I looked up, and I cried out, "Help." I've never said a prayer like that. Not before, never since. Over those days and weeks that led up to Tikva's birth, her short life, and eventually her death, something inside of me slowly changed. I became less certain and more curious about the nature of existence. I started to see life through a widening lens. By pulling back, it helped me. I learned to see the moment, Tikva's precarious condition, and our uncertain future a little bit differently than I had. No matter how scared I was and how big it seemed, and it seemed as big as death, I learned to see all of it in the context of a much broader, bigger story. And as a result, I became less sure about any one experience being entirely good or bad, or that what I was living through was only wanted or unwanted. By looking at life through a wider lens, I found a freedom inside that no one but I could take away from me. I learned to be free to focus on what I wanted. And instead of doubt, I chose hope. Instead of fear, I chose faith. And this wasn't magical thinking. I wasn't delusional. I wasn't in denial. Tikva's condition was literally life or death. It's not so easy to be disciplined with our thoughts. It takes a lot of practice. It takes a real determination to feel better. Understand, I believe there is joy and pain. There is right and wrong. I do believe there is good and there is evil in the world. I reject false moral equivalencies that try to convince me that the truth is subjective. Alternative facts are propaganda. I'm not talking about everyone do what you want because if it's true to you, it must be true. This is not I'm okay, you're okay. What I'm trying to raise up tonight is what I believe is a practice for now. When I'm not okay and you're not okay, look where we are. We're gathered in this most unusual way, in our homes, in front of our screens. Although we're apart, we're united by traditions reformed to meet our lives today. My goodness, do we need the lessons of these holy days. Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur teach us that it is our duty to cultivate and practice more virtuous character. The driving force of Judaism through our ethical teachings and our ritual practices is the development of righteous individual and communal behavior. There is a mastery of self to seek. We do have a world to perfect. But when we're faced with 9 good fingers and 1 finger in awful pain, we've got to make a choice. Either focus on the pain or pull back and find reasons to bless. Either see only the brokenness or give it just a little bit less attention. Give more energy to the other 9 good fingers that make 2 hands that can heal the world. Somehow in that Trader Joe's parking lot, I had the presence of mind to hold up my hands. I focused on the 9 fingers that I didn't smash in the car door. Wasn't a miracle, but I felt a little better. And I carried that lesson of discernment for years until this past year. I lost sight of my 9 fingers in 5780, and I've suffered terribly. And I know some of you have as well. For months, I've been brought low by the 10th finger of this moment. I don't know what you see when you look at the brokenness. It's not my place to tell you where and how and why to feel your pain. But when I looked around, I saw iniquity, that our conditions are unfair. I saw people hurting instead of hoping. I saw anger and fear, and I saw anger and fear lead to violence and destruction. I saw leaders more concerned with their own self-interests instead of in serving the people, who instead of comforting a wounded nation, fanned the burning flames, or even worse, chose to remain silent. I saw a terrible pandemic that first paralyzed and then divided our country. I saw that COVID's greatest impact has been on our most vulnerable, those with the least amount of privilege. It is on their welfare that we're being judged by the eternal. When summer began, I saw Derek Chauvin choke the life out of George Floyd while 3 other officers stood idly by. I saw summer end when Rustin Chesky shot Jacob Blake in the back 4 times. Weighing all of it down, I saw and felt a great sadness that brought me low. These are hard times. We're all struggling in some way with our mental health, with isolation, with loneliness, with financial pressures, with attempting to homeschool our children. We've all lost. We're all losing. We're all going to lose something. Most of all, we're carrying the weight of not knowing when this will end and when brighter days will again be upon us. When I was brought low this time, like that morning on Ocean Beach, I again cried out to help. You know what I heard? Dude, come on. Don't go out like this. The world has not ended. Our democracy has not ended. The Jewish people have not ended. Bethel Hebrew congregation has not ended. We're down. We're not out. We've been through and we've survived worse. We're going to get through this, and we're going to party when we do. So pull back. The brokenness is not all of the stories. 9 fingers are fine. I do see the 10th finger. I do worry a little bit that if I see the bigger picture, that some of you might think that I'm abandoning the suffering cause. I'm not. But my attention is on both hands, and I'm determined. When I look at mine and I look at yours, I have no doubt that ours are the hands of God. Right here at Bethel, we're doing everything we can to be a sacred Jewish community for all who seek connection, meaning, and healing. The pandemic struck. Our world turned upside down. We absorbed the blow and we responded. And we're going to continue to respond. Led by our president, Alan Cohn, we established and you gave generously to our Bethel COVID-19 Emergency Fund. Cantor Kaufman put together an online concert to support the community through Act for Alexandria's Emergency Response Fund. We've worshiped. We've experienced sacred community in new ways on Facebook Live. Led by Rabbi Romano, our teachers pivoted to online learning. They stayed connected with our students, kept Jewish learning alive, and made sure that our children could be together digitally when in person became unsafe. Via Zoom, we've welcomed babies into the covenant. We've celebrated our B'nai Mitzvah becoming Jewish adults. and we've together brought comfort to those who've known loss. We've also continued to accept our responsibility to repair our unjust world. We filled the moving truck with necessities for our neighbors at Casa Shir El Agua. We gathered on our front lawn to demonstrate peacefully and held a Havdalah in support of Black Lives Matter. Our nonpartisan civic engagement campaign encourages everyone to participate in the coming November election, attempting to ensure that Reformed Jewish values are represented in the public square. So yeah, that 10th finger, it's real and it's hurting. I see it. The news is all day, every day, and the news only seems to be getting worse. But you've got to know that we're more than just the pain and the brokenness we see and carry. They're not the entirety of our experience. At Tikva's bedside in the NICU, I saw parents weep with joy when they finally took their babies home. And at other times I watched as curtains were drawn, families sobbed, and parents left empty-handed. Even though Gal and I were among those who left the hospital that final night without our baby Tikva, I learned a lesson then that I somehow forgot. But friends, I've now remembered it and I will not abandon. Remember your 9 good fingers when all it seems you can think about is the 10th. This determination to see the bigger picture is what it means to focus on shleimut, wholeness. And by doing it, we all bring a little bit more shalom, peace. Joy and pain, victory and defeat are all a part of something bigger. There is still so much good in the world, so much to appreciate. During this holiest time of the year, as we reflect on the totality of our lives, I challenge each of us to do one small thing to make our lives in the world just a little better. Pull back, see the bigger picture, start to tell a different story, see and count the blessings. Remember all that is good, rediscover it all around you in your life and in the world. In doing so, in learning to tell a different story, may we discover a new freedom. May 5781 be a year of also focusing on the good. And by doing so, may we each and every one bring that good to life. L'chaim Shana Tova.